All right, make sure everything is good to go. Yeah, I did. I did. Ohio State's getting a lot of cases, man, but I think they're actually still going to go on with the game. I know Nick Saban's daughter, Christine, she definitely had a lot to say about that, but man, we're just gonna have to see, man. We're just gonna have to see. Ohio State's got a lot of rising cases so far, and they've been really unlucky when it comes to those COVID cases. And you know, uh, what's funny, dude? Alabama, I think besides really Nick Saban, I don't think anyone on the team has had any COVID cases. So that's actually pretty shocking that these Ohio State players and this coaching staff and right, these guys have been tested around like 2 or 3 times a day for like hundreds of hours, and the fact that these people have just it's just been like an incredible rise of these cases over there. It's crazy, but at the same time, to a lot of Alabama fans, it kind of sounds a little bit suspicious that damn, you get all these all this testing, you guys are still having a bunch of cases on your football team. So it does kind of sound suspicious, at least from a typical Alabama fan type of standpoint. But yeah, man, like hopefully this game continues to go on. Hopefully they don't push it back. But I mean, if they do, they got to do what you got to do. But you got to think about potentially competing with the NFL. I mean, it's bad enough you're competing with the NFL with the wild card weekend already. That's something that before the season, you did not want to compete with the NFL when it comes to wild card weekend. Now you have to do that, and now simply just by pushing it, you're just going to make it worth for yourself as far as ratings. So we'll find out what happens, man. But hopefully this game can continue. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Listen, I'm not saying that. I'm just some Alabama fans will be saying that. I'm not particularly saying that. I mean, like I said, we're dealing. This is a tough year. This is a very tough year. So, uh, the fact that the fact that this is going on with Ohio State. I mean, it might sound kind of in a way really bad coming from me, but at the same time, it's like we're going through a difficult time. 2020 is over, but COVID is still going on. Ohio State's got to deal with the struggles. However, I'm just saying, from Alabama fans, there's going to be some Bama fans that will definitely say, yeah, it definitely sounds definitely suspicious. I mean, look at Christine. Look at Christine Saban. Actually, let me pull up her tweet. Let me actually pull up her tweet for anyone who did not see Christine Saban's tweet. So of course she definitely had to call out Ohio State for this. Definitely not shocked at all what she said, but the fact that she came out there and she like, I mean, you guys can read yourself, but she said, what did she say here? If you're not confident, play, then say it. I call BS on the COVID cases. They're just worried about their quarterback and want him to have more time to heal. If he's hurt, put in your backup. You didn't see us postpone the rest of the season to wait for Waddle. So obviously you had all this stuff going on. You had the COVID cases going on. You have the excuse of Justin with Justin Fields, and I mean, all this stuff is going on. So I'm not completely shocked that a lot of that even Alabama fans will definitely. It may sound a little suspicious, but I mean, again, this is COVID's not over. You got a lot of crap that is still going on. So I'm not going to blame Ohio State at all for the rising of cases. You can't help that. Exactly, Luke. I mean, you just get way more time. you get way more time for Waddle to heal up, and you know the at this point of the season for Jalen Waddle, it's at this point the staff is definitely contemplating if he should be even play or not. I mean, he's had a limited amount of practice, he's moving around and stuff like that, but next week will be a far, far, far greater chance. Excuse me, greater chance for him to get on the football field compared to on Monday. So, if they push the game back, you got to push the game back. I guarantee you that a lot of the people that's definitely running the show behind the scenes won't like it because they have to. I mean, it's bad enough you have to compete with the NFL. You don't want to have your game on a Monday, the day after uh, all these wild card rounds and in divisional rounds and stuff like that. But now you have to push it back another week. That's not going to look good for ratings. So they would want this game to continue. Of course, Ohio State, with everything going on with the rising of COVID cases and the accusations of, the reason why they're potentially postponing it is because of Justin Fields trying to heal from his injury. They're playing this week. Ryan Day came out in his press conference. He says, "Look, we're gonna play. As everything sounds right now, we're playing. So they will be playing. Yeah, yeah. He's. I don't think Justin Fields is going to be 100%. Obviously, he has an injury. I don't think he's 100% fine. He has an injury, but um, you know, the coaches are if the coaches are confident he's good enough to play, then he's good enough to play. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like Justin Fields looked like he's dead. And trust me, I've had a rib injury before. That shit's not going away overnight. That shit's gonna continue to linger for you for weeks, bro. So uh I definitely suspect that Justin Fields is not gonna be 100%, but will he be good enough to play? That's up to I mean, so far the coaches believe that he can play. I'm confident I'm gonna take their word for it. Oh, let me actually get rid of this. Yeah, yeah, I'm confident that it's up to their decision. I'm confident that the coaching staff will do what's best for Justin Fields at this point, but it sounds like he's going to play. Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that's debatable. And I guarantee you, Nick Saban talked to her for a little bit, but I don't think Nick Saban is probably thinking to himself, "What the hell did I just get myself into with my daughter, man?" But this I don't think Ohio State's actually looking at this. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't think Ohio State at all is looking at that as a potential motivation. I mean, if you really needed this comment for motivation in order for you, to potentially compete in a national championship, then you just shouldn't even belong in the game. I mean, this is the national championship. You should bring your A game and even more than that. If you guys want to potentially win a national championship. No problem, Zachary. No problem. You don't got to worry about it, bro, as long as you're here now. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for showing up in the chat. I see the usual suspects. What's going on, Chris? Your mom, Go Jay. I seen him here. Tay Five, Kayla, the usual suspects. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the stream, and anybody else that just came by and joined it. I was at the Woody today. So obviously, we had a pretty weird day that was going on in Capitol Hill. I'm not gonna dive deep into that, but I'm just saying. Obviously, we had a weird day. That's just all I'm gonna say for that. We had a pretty weird weird day. I was actually supposed to start the stream at 6 o'clock, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I was literally looking at that. I was watching CNN for like literally an hour, just literally an hour late. I was an hour late just watching that. It was insane. Quindarius Robinson, man, is a extremely talented man, extremely talented player. Um, I, I suspect he's definitely going to get on the football field next year. He's a high IQ guy, tons of athletic ability. I mean, I think he actually ran a 4.6 or a 4.5 timed. I don't know what position he's going to play. I don't know if they're going to put him as an edge rusher. He seems more like a Rashaan Evans hybrid type of player. He seems like a type of player that can play both of the inside linebacking position, but can be that edge defender, that extra edge defender coming off. Maybe the extra blitzer that can be able to get to the quarterback. Reminds me a lot of Rashaan Evans. I think they actually got him listed right now as an outside linebacker, as an edge rusher. But the way Alabama's defense is right now, a lot of our linebackers are, they have, for the most part, they're in 2 point. They're not in 2 point stances, but they got their hands on the ground. Um, so I don't think he's going to permanently play that position. I think he could take that Rashaan Evans role by probably he might stay there maybe the first couple of years, but I think eventually he's going to be developed as an inside linebacker. And with his athletic ability, his athletic traits, with his IQ, I think he's going to be a phenomenal player for Alabama for years to come. But now, I mean, Alabama has a crap ton of depth at those linebacking positions, a lot of young talent for like the next 2 to 3 years. No, I didn't. What Sean Way said? Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He definitely fought through that pain. Again, Justin Fields, he's not going to be 100%. And one of the things that I'm definitely looking forward to is, if can Justin Fields stay healthy? Not stay healthy. Can Justin Fields scramble? Can he use his legs? One of Justin Fields' biggest traits is that he can scramble. And if Justin Fields can't scramble, that's making him a one-dimensional type of quarterback. Which, again, as a pocket passer, Justin Fields is still one of the best in the country. But one of the biggest things that makes Ohio State to the kind of take it to the next level is his legs. Um, so just taking away that extra dimension, I think could definitely be in Alabama's favor for a little bit. Listen, man, FSU, man, is one of. I actually really do feel bad for that program. They went from a national championship contender, um, for decades, literally for decades, as a national championship contender, to now being one of the worst programs in all of college. Even recruit at a high, like, you normally see programs that historic programs that are bad. Not of course they used to be good, but obviously can't. They're not the same now. Um, but let's say with Penn State, like after the entire Joe Paterno mess, and Penn State was still recruiting at a high level, even though they were mediocre. They were still recruiting at a high level. FSU can't even recruit at a high level. They're not even a top 30 class. I don't even think they have a top 30 class. Like, it is really bad right now for FSU. They can't recruit. I mean, they can still develop some players, and obviously there's going to be some players that's going to be going to the NFL next year. But that is bad. And also the fact that you have to compete with a rising Miami team and a rising Florida team. I really do feel bad for FSU because they used to be the mecca of college football. What's going on, Matthew? By the way, as you guys can tell, I am using StreamYard. This is literally my first time of using it. So as soon as I get to figure this entire thing out, hopefully it can be better for the stream. Um, but eventually I have to learn how I can, try to bring people on, because I definitely want to interact with you guys. But don't worry, we're gonna get that figured out. We're definitely gonna get that figured out in no due time. Yeah, man. Thank you, man. Matthew, man. Thank you for reminding me, man. Spam that like button if you guys can. Definitely helps out the channel. YouTube's algorithm, let's be honest, YouTube's algorithm sucks. So definitely hitting that like button would definitely help out the channel a long way. What's going on, Buckeye till I die? What's going on, bro? How you doing today? I don't listen. It's actually kind of split. I've been on a lot of Bama forums. Bama fans for the most part, I think for the most part, we respect Ohio State. Obviously, we're not trying to let another 2014 incident happen. I think Alabama fans definitely don't want that to happen. There is the other Bama side that, of course, they think Alabama's going to blow everybody out. They're huge supporters of their football team. I'm one of those fans that actually right now am favoring Ohio State to win this football game. And again, maybe that extra motivation of what Christine Saban said, maybe it does give him an extra boost. I mean, they take everything kind of to heart. Maybe it does give him a little extra boost. But I think Ohio State's going to win this game. I think they're going to win it It's going to be super close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I just think Ohio State's defensive line is going to get the better of Alabama's offensive line. Not to say that they're going to dominate them, but I think Ohio State's defensive line will win all battles. But again that I'm reserved to that opinion. Maybe until game day I can change my opinion, but for now, just from an unbiased standpoint, I'm going with Ohio State to win. Devonta Smith. I think Devonta Smith is going to be Sean Wade. Sean Wade is Sean. I've said this before in the last live stream. Sean Wade is a nickel guy. Sean Wade's a guy that plays really well in the slot, and he's a first round corner. If you want somebody that can play as a slot, or maybe even as a safety, that can definitely come up. You can definitely put him in. You definitely put him in the box. Can cover anybody. Can pretty much cover anybody. Tight ends, slot receivers. He's normally good against those guys. He's also really good in zone coverage, very, very good in zone coverage. But as a man coverage corner, especially playing in the outside, he's unfamiliar with. That's literally unfamiliar territory. That's unnatural for him. And you've seen Sean Wade get cooked whenever he's trying to jam somebody up on the line of scrimmage, especially on the outside. So, Devontae Smith is not only the best pure receiver in college. I think he's the best receiver right now in college when it comes to players trying to jam him up. Like people underestimate his weight because of course his frame, but he's actually really strong. Like I've seen a lot of corners try to jam him up, and you can't do it. He's strong, but he also plays with great technique too. So I don't know how they're going to play Devontae Smith. I don't know if they're going to, play off coverage with Sean Wade. I don't know if he's going to be in a lot of zone, or if they're just straight up just going to say, "Hey, we're going to leave Sean Wade on an island, and let's see what happens." Again, it could be man with somebody over the top to try to help Sean Wade out. Obviously, we're going to have to find out during the national championship. But I think Devontae Smith is we've seen the best corners in college football go up against them, and they just can't do anything against them. And we've seen literally all type of coverages played against Devontae Smith. He's just done a phenomenal job. And if Jalen Waddle plays, that's definitely going to help Alabama out in their favor. Try to give maybe Devontae Smith a little bit of breathing room. Listen, man, I like Sean Wade, man, but listen, Sean Wade's been getting cooked this year. Sean Wade, he's been getting cooked this year on the outside. I don't know if you be careful what you wish for, man. That's just all I'm gonna say. Just be careful what you wish for. Yeah, man, Matthew, man, we're gonna continue to do these live streams. Again, we're gonna continue to get better by doing this. Eventually, I can't wait to get people on here. That's gonna be extremely fun as soon as I kind of figure that out. But yeah, we're gonna keep doing these live streams, man. I love interacting with you guys. Um, of course, I'm learning every single day by doing these live streams. I know, some people might be a little bit mad, but I had to remove a lot of mods. I mean, I added around like 20 mods last time, so I had to remove a lot of mods. I just went back to how it was in the original. I had like 5, 6 mods around, and hopefully those people that I still added them as mods can definitely properly moderate the chat. But yeah, we're gonna continue to do these live streams. We're gonna continue to do better, and we're gonna continue to grow. That's my goal here, man. It's to definitely grow this community. You guys have been excellent ever since I started my YouTube channel, and I appreciate you guys for just stopping by and supporting the live stream. Exactly. It's like Shaun Wade is he's a really good slot corner. And, again, if he goes in the first round, an NFL team is going to be taking him to play in the slot. They're either going to put him in the slot or they're going to be moving him in safety. But as an outside corner, Shaun Wade is not. He's not. He's on. That's just an unnatural fit. It's an unnatural fit for Shaun Wade. It's like when TCU tried to play. It's like TCU, like Jason. Remember what Jason Verrett? Jason Verrett was a phenomenal slot corner, and obviously Jason Verrett won the first round. But whenever they placed him as an outside corner, Jason Verrett got toast. He got burnt every time as an outside corner. Shaun Wade is just one of those guys that's just just an unnatural fit, man. Just an unnatural fit. He's no Damien Arnett. He's no uh oh my God, how am I forgetting his name? You guys know what I'm talking about. Damn, how am I forgetting his name? That's actually kind of pissing me off. Can someone type that in the comment section? Who was the corner that went to Detroit? I completely forget what his name was. Like the name just literally just gets the tip of my tongue. Yeah, you can do as a walk on. You can try. You can actually. Yeah, you can try out Jeffrey Okuda. Just finally came back to me. Yeah, Jeffrey Okuda. But yeah, you don't even have to play football at all. You literally can just try out as a walk on. Literally can just try out as a walk on, and that's how you can just get on the football team. I mean, even something like you can suck at a tryout, but if you're big enough, if you show that you're big enough, if you're athletic, if you're strong enough, they'll get you on as a walk on and potentially earn a scholarship. I know there's a lot of other programs too, especially in Europe, that will send a lot of players that are looking to play football at a high level. They'll send them to college. Uh, yeah, there's a ton of ways to play college football. Hell, even in community college, like you can legit play in community college, not as a walk on or stuff like that. Like you can legit, you don't even have to have any football experience. Legit, just can go to a community college, and as long as you just sign up, you're on the team. Exactly. Just so many different ways. So many different ways to play football. That's why I like when a lot of high school kids say that, hey, I want to play college football, but I don't know a way how. Nah, dog. There's a crap ton of ways to potentially play college football. I know for me, as soon as I was done with high school, played a couple years at the community college level. Found out not really was my passion, and you know, that's just what it is. I mean, like I said, I played it. I love the game of football, but sometimes when you play the game of football, sometimes you don't you kind of find that it's just not for you. It's not really your taste, and that there's a different calling. There's a different calling in your life. I know that's happened for a lot of people. But then again, there's the elite college football players. There's the elite people at the college and the pro level that they love the game that much that they want it more than anybody else. That's really the difference between people that are just playing high school that aspire to be in the NFL and the people that aspire to be NFL and actually can make it happen. I think Georgia would have had probably one loss, and they would have definitely went to the SEC championship game. Honestly, like if JT Daniels is he the greatest quarterback of all time? No, but compared to when Stetson Bennett was on the football field, JT Daniels makes that offense so much better. And again, Kirby Smart is definitely to blame of why Georgia failed this year. Like he is the main reason why Georgia failed this year because you can tell as soon as JT Daniels was starting, you can tell as soon as he was throwing the football, how much that offense was opened up. Like compared to how Stetson Bennett was playing, the playbook was very limited. You knew exactly what they were about to run. You knew exactly their passing plays and their passing concepts. As soon as JT Daniels became the starter, the playbook was so wide open that the offense looked like it went from being a typical pro style offense to now being a pro style offense with a lot of spread concepts and a lot of passing concepts that you just never seen. So you know, I blame Kirby Smart because at the end of the day, it's his call who starts. If JT Daniels, again, the first maybe 2 or 3 weeks, JT Daniels wasn't cleared, he wasn't healthy, that's fine. But as soon as he was healthy, as soon as he was cleared, you have to realize as a head football coach that, hey, Stenson Bennett's not the answer. Let me throw in JT Daniels in here and let's see what we got from him. He waited until literally Georgia was out of college football the college football playoff contention for JT Daniels to be in it. Like we're that like Jesus, like it's crazy. And Georgia's going to get a lot of hype next year with JT Daniels. I fully expect him to be the starting quarterback. But here's the situation with JT Daniels: is that with Brock Vandagriff coming in as a 5-star quarterback, is Brock Vandagriff going to be the next Justin Fields as far as extremely talented quarterback? You know that this kid, if he gets an opportunity to start, or if he can develop properly, that this kid's going to be a first round pick. Are we going to have one of those versus a Jake Fromm? Is JT Daniels a Jake Fromm type of player? Because JT Daniels is not the most mobile quarterback in the world. He has an arm. He has a much stronger arm than Jake Fromm, but he doesn't have that mobility. Brock Vandagriff offers that mobility, and he offers so many dynamic tools. So is so for next year, is JT Daniels just going to be another Jake Fromm with the playbook not being as open as we thought it could be, or will Brock Vandagriff, if he shows that he deserves to be the starting quarterback, will he get his shot? And maybe Georgia can ignore having another Justin Fields type of situation. Yeah, exactly. It's like Kirby Smart loves game managers. Kirby Smart loves game managers. He loves them. I mean, he loves quarterbacks that take care of the football, doesn't really turn over the football, knows when to throw the ball away. He loves those type of guys, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because guys like Justin Fields and Jacob Eason, maybe those guys are not. Maybe those guys are such risk takers. I don't know. It's really hard to say, but he loves a type of like. Think about that. Jake Fromm, Stetson Bennett. Those are guys that are short in stature. Not strong arms, really average arms, but they're game managers. They're very smart, very high IQ guys. They can move around well in the pocket. They're pretty accurate for the most part when it comes to short intermediate throws, dink and dunk throws. But they're not guys that are simply going to take your team to the next level. Jacob Eason, I don't even know if he's the type of guy that can take your team to the next level, but Jacob Eason was way better than those guys. Guys like Justin Fields and what we've seen from JT Daniels so far from the offensive side of the ball, those are guys that can make your offense exponentially better. And I think the scary part is that when you're bringing in a guy like Brock Vandagriff coming in, he adds that Justin Fields dynamic trait as far as his mobility. So, Georgia has failed. The reason why Georgia has not won a national championship is because they have failed at the quarterback position. And it's not, and it's really developing the best quarterback. It's like they settle for one quarterback and that's it. Well, next year with JT Daniels, he came back. He's coming back next year, and he's coming back fully well know that he should be the starting quarterback, that he's going to be the starting quarterback with a ton of receiving options when at his disposal. Georgia is probably going to be the favorites to win the national championship next year, just because of that reason alone. Everyone knows Georgia has a defense. Everyone knows that. But the question is, do they have the proper quarterback to lead? Do they have the proper quarterback and the offensive system to lead this football team to the promised land? Oh yeah, definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. 2018, we thought, yeah, everyone thought we were going to win the national championship. everyone thought we were going to win the national title in 2018. Literally had one of the greatest offenses as far as talent probably ever. Defensively, Quentin Williams was by far the best defensive player in the country. People, I thought we were going to win the national championship, and then we couldn't do anything. We got out coached, out schemed. We lacked. We were just hell. They just looked like they just had much better personnel than us. At the end of the day, they won because of their defense. Defensively, how dynamic they were on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. They were a complete team compared to us, where we were a very, very good team. We had an elite offense, but for the most part, an above average defense. And we had injuries going into that game. It sucked. I'm not making excuses of why we lost because of injuries, but we were definitely out prepared. Definitely just out prepared, out coached, out schemed. Yeah. Hopefully this year doesn't repeat. Hopefully this year doesn't repeat. But one of the things that we're going to be looking at here is Mike Losley. Remember, Mike Losley took the Maryland job a week before the national championship game, and Steve Sarkisian took the Texas job before the national championship game. Now, in his press conference, Steve Sarkisian went out there and he said to himself that, hey, he said to the press, I'm all in on this Alabama game. I'm literally all in on this Alabama game. No Texas stuff until after the national championship. But, Michael Osley said the exact same thing. Uh, uh, Literally the exact same thing. Kirby Smart said the exact same thing. Um, and obviously you look at those games, and one the 2018 score was 44-16, and it was definitely Mike Losley's worst offensive performance. And then you look at the year before he went to Georgia. Uh, Deshaun Watson threw for 400 yards against you. Now, obviously, the next year the same thing happened, um, but it was one of Kirby Smart's worst performances. Yeah, Clemson was an amazing team. That 2018 Clemson team was amazing. 2018 Clemson team was amazing. But guess what? No one was going to beat 2018 Alabama. Everyone said that was the greatest college football team of all time. But obviously, on paper, that 2018 Clemson team had the greatest defensive line probably of all time. You had one of the best linebacking, not one of the best linebacking units, but I think you had a first round corner, you had a second round cornerback, so many experienced veterans, so much damn depth. That Clemson, you had one of the best offensive lines probably in Clemson history. You had Travis Etienne, you had Trevor Lawrence, you had Justin Ross, you had sorry, get a drink. I mean, you had T Higgins there. That Clemson team was loaded and ridiculous. Yeah, Deshaun Watson is just 2015 and 2016, man. He just kept getting hit. I mean, Deshaun Watson is he's just amazing. Just amazing, man. No matter how many times you hit that dude's just gonna find a way to make a play. Yeah, of course, Trevor Lawrence definitely screwed me up a little bit. Let me just scroll up real quick, see if I didn't miss any important comments. Yeah, I think in 2018, I think Alabama just stepped off the gas pedal. I think a lot of people even agree with that. I think they just stepped off the gas pedal back in 2018 against Oklahoma. Like they were up, like Bama could have put up 60 points or 70 points against that Oklahoma defense. That was one of the worst defenses I think I've ever seen in Oklahoma. They simply just tried to run off the clock in the second half. They just literally just try to run off the clock in that second half. I give credit to Oklahoma for coming back, and they didn't, they didn't fall over and quit, but Alabama definitely slowed down during that game. Yeah, I agree with you, Jeremy. Justin Fields, Justin Fields is a beast, man. He's a warrior. He's gonna play. I think Justin Fields is definitely gonna play. Now I don't know, and I think no one knows so far, except for that that medical team, the extent of his injury. It's like, how bad is his injury? Because like there were some rumblings that, listen, the dude had a hard time of breathing. Like the dude had a hard time of kind of breathing a little bit. So like what is the extent of his injury? Like they're saying his hip. There might be something wrong with his hip. Obviously, the ribs is the main problem so far. It's like, how bad is that injury? Obviously the coaching staff has to, of course, the coaching staff. I have faith in the coaching staff that they're going to make the right decision. And I know that Justin Fields is most likely going to play. However, you don't want a Tua situation, right? As soon as I heard the word hip associated with Justin Fields as far as his injury goes, I thought of Tua. And if Justin Fields ever takes a big hit, if Justin Fields takes a big hit and he goes down, and obviously you just don't want a significant injury. So he's playing this game, obviously, but I hope that it's a minor injury. I hope that this is an injury that, he can take some shots in this football game. And after the game, he's going to be bruised up a little bit. He's going to be in pain, but it's not going to be anything long-term wise. I don't want a significant injury happening to this kid. That's the one thing I don't want happening. Because if we find out after the post game that Justin Fields had a very serious injury, and the coaching staff still decided to play him, that's going to make him look. Now that's going to make Ryan Day and that coaching staff and that medical team look really bad. Even if they win the national championship, it's going to make them look like crap, because that's saying that you care more. That's kind of showing a message that you care more about your program than you actually do your players. No, he won't. Like the way that rib injury and that hip is bothering him, he's gonna be elusive in the pocket. He's gonna step up, and I think his footwork is still gonna be there. But as far as that dynamic trait of taking off whenever the play decides to break down, or when he feels kind of squeezed in that pocket, Justin Fields is not taking off. He's uh he's going to be in that pocket the majority of the game. The question is can that Ohio State offensive line protect him long enough? Because even Clemson was getting some pressure. That Clemson, now trust me, Ohio State's offensive line dominated Clemson, but that team was getting pressure on Justin Fields as well. Alabama is almost exactly the same. I think that they might have better pass rushers than Clemson, um, but they can get pressure. They can get pressure on Justin Fields, and is Justin Fields, is he going to string a little bit as far as uh, you know, if he feels the pressure, is he going to rush his throws? Because when you're getting hit primarily on that injury, it's a little bit of a fear factor, or a little bit of you're going to have a little bit of a tendency to kind of just throw that ball a little bit earlier as it should be. So is Justin Fields going to is he going to crumble under the pressure, or is he going to stand still in that pocket, kind of perform like he always did last week? Obviously, we're going to find out about that, but um, you know, sitting with the week with that injury, you have a lot of time to kind of process. There's you have no adrenaline, not until probably game day where you're taking that shot again. But man, when you're taking shots from 300 pounders, and primarily on your hip and on the side of your rib, uh, you're gonna feel it. You're definitely gonna feel it, no matter how many shots you take. Oh yeah, he is going to be shot the hell up. He's gonna he's gonna be shot up, man. But again, I just hope for Justin Fields that this is not a serious injury. Like, I just hope that this is a minor injury, that he can play in this game, take some shots, and he'll be fine. I hope that this is not a serious injury, because again, if this is a very serious injury, to almost to the point where this could not only end his season but end his career, and this coaching staff know that, but still decide to play him, that's going to make the coaching staff look bad, whether if it's intentional or not. It's going to make the coaching staff, is going to make Ryan Day, it's going to make that medical team look really, really bad. You don't want another Tua situation. You just don't want that happening, obviously. I think no one wants that to happen, whether if you like Justin Fields or not. Um, First name, Waddle's practicing. It's limited time, but he is practicing. I don't know if he's going to play in this game because obviously what they're doing right now. First name is that they're just testing out the waters. They're trying to see how he's progressed, how far he's progressed in his injury. Is he good enough to play in this game? And if Jalen now, from what we've heard from these players, the common thing that I've heard from these players is that he looks good. He looks good running. That's literally what you heard from every player, from John Mechie, from Mac Jones to Devonta Smith, is that he looks good and he's progressing pretty good, and he looks like he's progressing good so far. So that's really, really good news. If this game was pushed back to next week, I definitely think Jalen Waddle would definitely play, and it would be limited amount of time. I don't know. I've been sitting on this. I've been back and forth with this. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I don't know. It's like he's coming off of a broken foot. I don't know if that's enough time for him to really go out there and play at full speed in the national championship game. I do think he's good enough to practice. So the fact that he's running and he's progressing really, really well so far, really should show that it really should show NFL scouts that, hey, I'm Jalen Waddle, I'm running, I'm good to go, I'm ready to get drafted and go to the next level. But as far as playing in this game, I'm not particularly sure. I think if this was pushed back next week, I think he'll have an opportunity to play limited snaps, but I think he'll have a limited amount of time to play. Um, but as far as playing this game, not particularly sure. Yeah, I don't. It's like if Jalen Waddle was on the field, Adam, he makes this offense so much better. He makes the passing attack just more dynamic. Jalen Waddle's presence, just his sheer presence on the just being on the team and just being on the football field, just makes his offense just more dynamic than it already was. Do they need Jalen Waddle as far as winning this game? No, they don't. I mean, you got John Mechie, Slade Bowling in the slot. You got Devonta Smith, of course. He's been a one-man wrecking crew. Jaleel Billingsley, who's been a phenomenal tight end. Miller Forstall. So Alabama has enough talent right now to win any game, to beat anybody right now in the country. It's just that Jalen Waddle just being there just it gives me such a huge confidence boost that I just feel like Alabama's offense won't be stopped if Jalen Waddle is there. But of course, I want him at 100% health. Um, but obviously, we're going to find out hopefully on Monday during the national championship if he'll play or not. Waddle was a junior. Waddle was a junior, so he's eligible right now for the NFL draft after this year. Well, after the football game is over. All right. By the way, guys, we got 39 people here in the live chat. Thank you guys so much for sticking around, and thank you so much for joining the live stream. Again, I know you guys probably have better things to do, but thank you guys so much for just stopping by and supporting the live stream. I really appreciate it. Got a lot of Ohio State fans here in the live chat as well. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, even if I am a Bama fan. Oh, we all know that. We all know that, Maurice. Ohio State's no pushover. Ohio State's no pushover over. I am not underestimating Ohio State. I did that in 2014. Not doing that this year. Ohio State's no pushover. Um, I think a lot of Alabama fans know that. Now, there's another side of Alabama fans that they'll talk their shit. Right? They're Bama fans. That's just how they are. But as far as me goes, and the other half, we're not looking this game over. Ohio State's a phenomenal football team. They dominated Clemson, so that should definitely be an eye opener for anybody else. I think this team knows it. Nick Saban knows it, and I think that we're gonna have a great game. I don't think this is gonna be a blowout, but I think we're gonna have a great game. I will, Keenan. I will. Geometry effect. All right, I'll check that out. I'll check that out. Appreciate that, Keenan. Yeah, I had Clemson not only beating Ohio State, I had Clemson win the national championship. This was before the preseason. I said this during the preseason. I thought Clemson was going to win the national title. Clemson was huge favorites to potentially win the entire thing. So yeah, it was shocking. Not only did they lose, but they got dominated. They got you know, if Clemson was in jail right now, man, they would not. If they wasn't, and if they were taking a shower, they were going to come out, man. They were going to come out different. I'll just say that. They were going to come out the shower pretty different. Clemson got destroyed. They got destroyed, out coached, out schemed. Personnel wise, Ohio State looked like they had way better the much better personnel. I mean, it was crazy to watch. Very crazy to watch. I appreciate that, Adam. I'm not sure about that, your mom. It's like just looking at that game, it's like Clemson. It's just how unprepared they looked. Like looking at that team on the football field, they were just confused. They had tons of misalignments. It was no communication at all in the secondary. I don't know. It's like I think revenge factor. I think you make a great point that Ohio State had a huge revenge factor, but I think even without that extra edge, Ohio State's probably. I still would have Ohio State winning that game. Like Clemson just looked unprepared. Like they prepared for like the wrong football team going into that game. That's what it looked like. I appreciate that, Maurice. Um, for now, Carson, as an unbiased standpoint, I got Ohio State winning. I think Ohio State's going to win the national title. Of course, my biased self, I'm always going to support. I'm always going to root for Alabama. But from an unbiased standpoint, I got Ohio State winning the national championship. Yeah, Tyler, it's like if Ohio State plays up to their potential and if Alabama can play up to their potential, it's like everyone thinks that if Alabama plays up to their potential, that Bama's going to blow out everybody. I don't think that's happening. I think Ohio State and Clemson, if those two teams play up to their potential, are the only two teams, neck for neck that can just go with Alabama. So if Ohio State plays up to their absolute potential and Alabama can do the exact same thing, you're going to expect to see some fireworks. This is going to be a game to see like which team fully brings their A game. And I think the biggest question heading to this game, besides the obviously the people underestimating Ohio State and Justin Fields with the broken ribs and the COVID cases, and Nick Saban's daughter, Christine Saban, what she said about Alabama, and maybe that will give fuel to Ohio State is, did they lose their edge? Because they planned for Clemson. They had the score on in their weight room. Like they had this game on lock for a year, and they came in here with extra motivation. Dabo Sweeney called them the 11th best team in the nation. That just gave extra fuel to the fire to Ohio State. Did they lose their edge going into the national title? Now, of course, what I just said is like, dude, it's the national championship. Ohio State's going to play with an absolute edge. But sometimes it's like sometimes when you're just going against a particular team, you're giving it 120, like 10, 20% compared to anybody else. compared to anybody else. Like you want to beat that team so damn badly that you just burn yourself out the next week. It happens in college football. For Sean Turner is that Ohio State by far beat the best team, but again, it's like going into Monday is like by beating Clemson and having all this motivation to just trying to beat them because Clemson destroyed Ohio State in 2016. They destroyed them in 2020, and even going back to I think 2014, Clemson destroyed Ohio State then. So it's like there were just so many. There were so many. There was just so much motivation. There were so many things going into that game that Ohio State just had to try to get their monkey off their back. Are they going to burn themselves out by simply by playing Alabama? Are they going to do that, or is Alabama simply going to, or is can Ohio State play and live up to the billing? It's like like looking at that Ohio State Clemson game. You had coaches. There was actually a video. There was a coach on the football field making a just celebrating. He's sliding. It's like Ohio State looked like they won the national championship against Clemson. When Alabama beat Ohio State for the Rose Bowl, it's like it's another day. It looks like another damn day in the office because Alabama is so used to winning these bowl games. They're so used to winning these semifinal games that again, it's just another day in the office. When Ohio State finally got that monkey off their back, it looked like they won the national championship game. If Waddle plays in this football game, and I think the real question is if how what's the percentage on Waddle? Is he going to be at 100%? If he's going to be at 70 or 60%? Because if Waddle goes out there plays and he's 50% healthy, I think the best thing that will happen for Alabama is that Waddle would just act as a decoy, because Waddle he can stretch the football field, and he gives you a threat. He just gives that opposing threat as far as defense is trying to really cover him, especially over the top. So I think having a guy like Jalen Waddle on the football field, even if he's at 50%, using him as a decoy is simply just going to open up your passing game. It's going to open up a bunch of passing concepts. Like it's going to open up the playbook, and it's going to uh, you're going to see a lot more innovation. You're going to see a lot more creativity coming out of Steve Sarkisian. And obviously, he would love to have a guy like Jalen Waddle on the football field. But if he's at 70, 80, 90% healthy, and if he can go out there and perform his duties, and he's going out there and he's stretching the defense, I mean, he's stretching the football field, and defenses are having a hard time trying to adjust to the speed or trying to adjust to him going over the top. It just makes Alabama's offense that much better. I agree with you, Blake. I completely agree with you, Blake. For anyone who's not seen this, I got to show that. That's if Jalen Waddle never would have broke his foot, he would have won the Heisman Trophy. As much as I love Devonta Smith, aka the Slim Reaper, aka the Golden Gazelle, if Jalen Waddle never would have got hurt, Jalen Waddle would have won the Heisman Trophy. Jalen Waddle would have won the Heisman Trophy because he not only would have been good as a punt returner. He was the best kick returner. He was the best punt returner. And obviously as a receiver, he brings that electric type of he brings that extra dynamic on the football field. And Mac Jones' primary target as far as explosive plays was Jalen Waddle. And even though Devonta Smith was still going to be great regardless, Jalen Waddle would have been that guy as far as those electric, exciting plays that Jalen Waddle would have took home that Heisman Trophy. He would have been the unanimous Heisman Trophy winner. It wouldn't even be close. If Jalen Waddle definitely would have won the Heisman Trophy if he never would have broke his foot. Yeah, Devontae Smith went from having 12 targets a game, 12 targets a game, which is ridiculous, compared to when Jalen Waddle was on the football field. Devontae Smith had like 8 targets. Devontae Smith had like 8, 9 targets compared to his average of 12 targets as soon as Jalen Waddle was gone. So most definitely, Devontae Smith wouldn't have. I mean, Devontae Smith would have had a lot of catches. Devontae Smith, in my opinion, still would have eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark. But he wouldn't have won the Heisman Trophy. He wouldn't have won the Heisman Trophy. I would probably go as far as to say that Devonta Smith probably wouldn't even been a he probably wouldn't have been a first team All American if Jalen Waddle was on the football field. No one talks about Chris Olave, man. I talked about this live stream. No one talks about Chris Olave. And I don't understand why. Chris Olave is a phenomenal receiver. He is in that tier as far as the dude is simply just unguardable. You can't cover him. If you try to jam him up, the dude is strong. If you try to jam him up, he's going to make you look foolish. If you try to play off coverage for him, he's going to make you look foolish. Chris Olave has been phenomenal for the Ohio State Buckeyes ever since he's been there, and he's been Justin Fields' primary target over the last couple of years. You know, I don't understand why people don't really put him in that bracket. Like I look at these mock drafts, I don't see Chris Olave. I see Jamar Chase. I see Devonta Smith. I see Terrence Marshall. I see Jalen Waddle. But I don't see any Chris Olave, and I'm like, why? It's like look at the film. It's like what Chris Olave has done everything. He's got the speed, he's got the strength, he's got the size, he's got the catch radius, he has the route running ability. I don't see how Chris Olave is not a potential first round pick. I don't get it. We got 87 people in the live chat, man. If you guys can, I would appreciate it if you guys definitely slap that like button. Again, it helps out the channel a lot. But like I said, 87 people, that is definitely a lot. Thank you guys so much for joining the channel and checking your boy out. Jordan, that is going to be that's the question of the day, man. Is can can he cover him? Patrick Tan is the best cornerback in college football, but from what we've seen, no one has guarded Chris Olave. That's gonna be a matchup that obviously that everyone's looking forward to. Like if you take away the Justin Fields offensive line versus defense, if you just take away like if the camera simply had to focus on one particular spot, it would definitely be on Chris Olave and Patrick Surtain. That's going to be one hell of a battle. And you know that Pat Surtain is going to be left on an island. It's going to be one when Pat Surtain primarily is playing in man coverage. You know he's on an island. He's not going to have any over the top help. It's simply going to be Pat versus Chris Olave. And Justin Fields, you already know, no matter what type of coverage a defense plays, no matter if it's zone, no matter if it's man coverage, it doesn't matter. Justin Fields is going to look for Olave, and he's going to take shots with Olave down the football field. Olave is one of the best deep threats in all of college football, and we have seen Pat Surtain. We've seen him get beat before. Trayvon Grimes beat him. I think a couple players from the Tennessee Volunteers. We've seen him beat Pat Surtain on deep routes. Pat Surtain he's the best cornerback in college football, but he's been beat. So that is definitely going to be the most interesting matchup. Man, I hope so, man. We got 90 people in the live chat, man. Listen, let's try to get this to 100. Let's definitely try to get this to 100 people. Yeah, Buckeye 76. Garrett Wilson, man. Garrett Wilson, man. Extremely talented player. Garrett Wilson is extremely talented, former five-star player. Obviously, can go out there and make the plays. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Julian Fleming. Crazy that Ohio State has like 4 or 5 5 stars that and they even got more talent with that Amika kid coming out of Washington next year. Ohio State is definitely uh, had a crap ton of talent when it comes to the receiving position. But yeah, Garrett Wilson's a guy, and obviously that's another matchup that I'm looking forward to. Josh Jobe versus Garrett Wilson. That's a matchup I'm honestly looking forward to. That's another crazy fun matchup is definitely that Garrett Wilson versus Josh Jobe, because Josh Jobe, he's also another corner that gets left on an island. The difference between Pat and Jobe is that Jobe has actually gotten beat. Jobe has gotten away with a lot of pass interference. He's gotten away with a lot of holding. And to be fair to Josh Jobe, he knows how to kind of get away with that. He's slick. He knows how to get away with that. But he's another guy that can get beat if the proper receiver is matched up on him. Like, if Garrett Wilson or if Chris Olave is ever matched up against Josh Jobe, you know what's about to happen. They're going to take a shot straight at Josh Jobe, whether if it's what. And again, it doesn't matter what type of cover he's on. One of the matchups is is a receiver being matched up on Jobe, and I think Ohio State is definitely going to be taking those shots against them. Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. Bama's defensive line is really good against the pass. The run defense is good but inconsistent. The secondary, it's okay. That's all I'm going to say for that. It's like it's very inconsistent. You got Pastor Tan, who's one of the best corners, but we have seen times where he can get beat. Jobe is a guy that actually has constantly getting beat, but for some reason teams don't want to take a shot in his direction. Malachi Moore can make plays on the ball like it's no tomorrow, but we have seen Malachi Moore against better route runners got absolutely torched. Jordan Battle has been phenomenal, especially in the box, and he's gotten better every single week in pass D, but we have seen him get torched. It's like Bama's defense, especially in the secondary, is good, and they definitely can have their moments, but you can't expose it. Bama's defense can get exposed depending on what type of offense you're playing against. Against some of the more explosive and more dynamic offenses, Alabama's defense hasn't been good. Against mediocre offenses, or maybe with that they don't scheme right as far as play design is not good. Mediocre offenses, Bama's defense looks like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So that's one of the things I'm honestly looking forward to is can Alabama's defense hold up against a very, very balanced and dynamic offense? Yeah, I just hope that if Jalen Waddle's okay, I hope that if he does play, I hope that he does play. I hope that Jalen Waddle is okay. Obviously, we root for both these teams. There's a lot of Ohio States in the chat. There's a lot of Alabama fans in the chat as well. But the best thing that we can hope for these kids is that they're at the end of the day they can come out this game and that they're healthy. Whether if Jalen Waddle plays or Justin Fields continues to kind of toughen out through his injury, you hope that nothing serious happens. You hope that both these guys can walk out of here with for the most part healthy enough for them to go to the next level and to make millions. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about for these kids is to not just win national championships and win all types of special awards at the college level. It's to eventually go out there to the national championship. Not the national championship. It's eventually to go to the NFL, make millions. And we got over 110 people. We have officially crossed over the 100 mark as far as people goes. Welcome everybody that just joined the live chat. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, 100 people, first time ever during my fourth live stream that we've done it. So man, we have come so far. We have definitely come so far away. By the way, I will be singing a lot in my live chats. I'll be singing a lot during my live stream, so get used to it. And you know what, Neil? That's Sean Wade's strength. He's phenomenal in zone coverage. Um, I would the this the fact that Sean Wade is playing as an outside corner tells me that Ohio State is lacking depth, or maybe they're just a lacking spirit to the outside position. It's not shocking, really, because look at all the cornerbacks that have went through Ohio State. Especially look at last year. You lose two first rounders in Dave Arnett and Jeffrey Okuda. So now you got some youth there, but you need more depth at that outside cornerback position. A lot of the guys that are starting now were second and third string guys that are now starting now. Um, so you know, I would definitely love if Sean Wade played in the nickel, because if he played in the nickel, then you can kind of square him as a man coverage guy. But as an outside guy going against Devonta Smith, you need someone over the top against him. It's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to be playing against Devonta Smith. Primarily, Sean Wade is because I'm telling you, if he's trying to jam up Devonta Smith, if you leave Devonta Smith alone in the island with Sean Wade, Wade's getting cooked. Like who's playing in the isn't Marcus Hooker playing in the slot? Isn't Marcus Hooker the slot corner? Like, yeah, Marcus Hooker is a slot corner. Again, Sean Wade's playing as an outside guy. And then obviously you got a guy like I think Savion Banks, I believe. Savion Banks is playing as their outside corner. Ohio State against the world. She said it, man. Ohio State against the world. Obviously, we'll see. Obviously, we would definitely see them in the national championship, man. Ohio State is definitely this is this is actually one of the strange years. Typically it's Alabama against the world, but this year it seems like everyone is kind of siding with Bama this year. Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't like the fact that Ohio State played in 6 games or in 7 games. So now a lot of people that would normally hate Alabama are now actually rooting for Alabama to win the national championship, and they don't like Ohio State. It's actually kind of crazy. There's also a rumor going around too that Sean Wade is hurt. Is that true? Because I actually I actually can't believe it. He does look a little sluggish, in my opinion. He does look a little sluggish. I don't think Sean Wade might not be 100%. By the way, if are any of you guys going to the national championship game? Are any of you guys going to the national championship game in Miami? I actually don't think so. I think even though Ohio State played in 6 games, there are some positives for that. Obviously, you get the rest, but then there are some negatives, like rhythm, like as far as rhythm and timing, and as far as trying to establish chemistry. It's like the more games, the fewer games that you play, again, you get the rest up. But as far as timing, as far as chemistry, like all that stuff, it like when you're going against elite football teams, it takes time for you to formulate. Now, they've been when it comes to Clemson, Ohio State's been preparing for Clemson for a very, 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 very long time. But we've seen during the regular season, like Ohio State struggling with Northwestern. Northwestern's a good football team, but let's be honest, Ohio State should have blown them out. We've seen the Indiana game. Indiana got exposed by Ole Miss. Uh, Indiana's a pretty decent team, but Ohio State should have blown them out. We've seen Ohio State kind of struggle a little bit. We've seen misalignments. We've seen the offensive line really not coming together. Defensively, primarily in the secondary, they looked out of sync. It's like you need time. And even look, Alabama's a perfect example. If Alabama played 6 games, Alabama probably would have got blown out in the first round. Honestly, they probably would have Alabama probably would have had a loss in their schedule. Who knows? It's like Alabama's defense did not look good the first 4 to 5 games. Alabama's defense looked horrible. Ole Miss put up 48 points against them. Like they put up 48 points against them. But as the more games they played and the more they understood the defense and the more they understood their assignments, they gradually got better. Now, of course, there's the Florida game that people want to kind of allude to, but Florida has done that to pretty much anybody. But it takes time for to really be a complete football team. So I think that there are some positives with Ohio State playing 6 games, but I also think that there's a lot of negatives with them. So, I mean, so far, everything is coming together for them finally against Clemson. Like, this was by far their best game. By far their best game against Clemson. Um, but who knows? Like, maybe Ohio State needs a little bit more time in order for them to kind of continue that dominance or continue where they left off against Clemson against Alabama. What's going on, Pats Nation? Yeah, exactly. It's like with the limited amount of games DCA, Justin Fields didn't really showcase what he had. It's like he has, of course, he had some bad games. You know, he had a bad game against Indiana, had a bad game against Northwestern, but and people were kind of killing his stock. Like I said, people said Zach Wilson is far better than Justin Fields, and that's just not true. People just didn't take in consideration that hey, Justin Fields played in 3 games, for God's sakes, and not to mention he had 2 games canceled. Ohio State had 2 games canceled on their schedule, including the Michigan game, canceled against them. So I think that for them, just a limited amount of time. And especially because they're playing with this is a very young roster for Ohio State. It's going to take them time especially for Justin Fields to kind of gel together. So I think that we all kind of jumped on the train of Justin Fields not being better than Trevor Lawrence or even being on the same level as Trevor Lawrence. And then obviously I think that led to people kind of underestimating Ohio State and the fact that people called them the 11th best team in the nation and people were kind of clowning them. And then obviously the game came and people were, including myself, were shocked that Ohio State blew them out because everything finally came together for them. It's like Ohio State just didn't have enough sample size during the regular season, but of course, when they finally showed us that, hey, we're Ohio State, we are a top 2, top 3 team in the nation, it finally showcased in the college football semifinals, and it shocked everybody. Well, the reality of the situation is that it really shouldn't have shocked that Ohio State blew Clemson out because Ohio State is they're at that high level. Yeah, I think it was a split crimson. I definitely think it was. I definitely think it was a split. I think a lot of people just went for Devonta Smith. Honestly, in my book, Mac Jones was number 2 for me. Number 3 would have been Trevor Lawrence, and then number 4 would, in my opinion, would have been Kyle Trask. Najee Harris was rightfully so. He should have been a finalist too, but again, I just feel like you know what? I don't even know. It's like the more and more I'm actually kind of thinking about it, it's like, Trevor Lawrence is a phenomenal quarterback, but it seemed like the reason why he got those votes was because of his preseason hype of being a Heisman finalist. It's like Trevor Lawrence had a great season, but compared to what Najee Harris did and compared to what Kyle Trask did, Kyle Trask, no matter touchdowns for God's sakes, he led the country in passing yards against SEC defenses, against SEC competition, including even though he lost that game against Alabama, he threw for 3 touchdowns and threw for 400 yards against Alabama. And the fact that Trevor Lawrence had more votes than Kyle Trask, it's even I wouldn't even go as far as having Trevor Lawrence go, be ahead of Kyle Trask in my opinion. I'm just scrolling up, reading you guys' comments. I know I skipped a lot of comments, so I'm just reading some of you guys' comments. I think hmm, I think Sermon. I think Sermon is going to have more rushing yards. I think that one of the weaknesses I think for Alabama is not particularly a weakness, but it's something that I definitely kind of pay attention to. It is Alabama's run defense. They're good, but they're inconsistent. One of the things Ohio State has kind of shown to be very consistent in is that they've had a pretty good run defense for the entirety of the amount of games that we've kind of seen them play. The fact that they held Travis Etienne to less than 30 freaking 5 rushing, less than, I'm sorry, not less than 35 rushing yards. They held him less than 50 rushing yards. That's amazing. Now, again, will Ohio State kind of be burned out by it? And I also think that Alabama's offensive line is really good. But I think another reason why I think I have Trey Sermon having more rushing yards is because Najee Harris is going to be used in the receiving game as well. I think he's going to be used a lot in the receiving game. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Trey Sermon runs the ball and he makes some explosive plays. Um, but I also think that what Steve Sarkisian loves to do is that he loves to put Najee Harris out wide. He puts him in the slot, and he's very vital to the receiving game as well. Man, that's a good question. That's a very good question. Can Ohio State stop Alabama's receivers? That's a pretty serious question, man, because Ohio State secondary, I would say, is the weakness of their football team. I would say that their secondary is a little bit of a weakness team. Like we've kind of seen teams can throw the football against them, and no one, even Georgia's secondary, which is a pretty good secondary, by the way, um, they couldn't stop Alabama's receiving core. Now, granted, they had Jalen Waddle on the football field, but if Jalen Waddle plays, and let's say he's at 70% or 80%, then guess what? You have that now. You have to deal with that same issue as well. And Alabama's receivers are deadly. They are very deadly. But also, who's even more deadlier than their receivers is Steve Sarkisian. Steve Sarkisian, as a play designer, is is crazy good. Crazy good. Might be the best play caller in all of college football. Might just be the best play caller in all of college football. I guarantee you he's going to draw some design plays. He has some design. He has not opened up. He's going to open up everything. He's going to open up the full bag against Ohio State's defense. And I think it's going to be an extreme tough task to kind of deal with these receivers. Again, no one, including no one, Derek Stingley Jr., Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell, Kalar Elam, no one has stopped Devonta Smith. No one. So the question is, can Sean Wade do it? I kind of doubt it, especially because you have a slot corner going against a true number one receiver, a true number one outside receiver. I just don't see Ohio State's secondary stopping Alabama. I think the real question is, can Ohio State's defense put enough pressure to slow down their passing attack? I think that's the real question. Best offensive line in college football. I probably would go with Alabama, and I think the reason why is because Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson is the best center in all of college football, and I love the center position. I think the center position makes an entire offensive line better than probably what it already is. I love the center position. Um, and Landon Dickerson was the best at his position, but not just that, but he was the leader of that football team. Emil Ekiyor, he even says, like, listen, just playing right next to Landon Dickerson just makes you better than it just makes you so much better, and it makes your life so much easier. The fact that the fact that he pretty much calls the plays in an offensive line, and he he primarily just makes those type of adjustments on the line, and he calls out the protection, and just his swagger and his bravado is just that offensive line played a lot better when Leonard Dickerson was there. So I would say Alabama's offensive line because Leonard Dickerson, I think he's the best center in college football. Obviously, with Alex Leatherwood and Evan Neal and Emil Ekiyor and Deontay Brown, Bama's offensive line was great. But second, in a very close second, would be Ohio State's offensive line. Ohio State's offensive line is phenomenal, man. Freaking phenomenal. I love Ohio State's offensive line. They got some big boys up there, man. Josh Myers, Wyatt Davis, Nicholas Piet-Pierre. Those guys are deadly. So a very close second would be Ohio State. That's something that I think that everyone should look forward to is like seeing the two best offensive lines going against some pretty good defensive talent on the defensive line. The trenches is definitely going to be something I'm going to be looking forward to on Monday. By the way, we will be having an Alabama versus Ohio State live stream. We're going to be having a little bit. We're going to be having a little watch party. So if the game holds up and if it doesn't postpone, Monday we will be having a watch party. That's going to be starting at around 7:30. So hopefully you guys can stop by and join the stream. If that game is canceled though, then we're just going to continue with just having our regular live streams around 6 maybe 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Monday. Yeah, man. Ohio State's defensive, their front seven's nasty, man. Their front seven's nasty. I like their linebacking core with Warner and with Turf Borland and obviously with TT on the defensive line, Tyler Friday and those guys out there. Ohio State has a nasty front. They have a nasty front seven, and obviously that's something that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to. Jonathan Cooper coming off the edge. Uh, again, you look at guys like Antoine Johnson, and then is Haskell? I had. What about with Garrett? Is Garrett playing the game for any Ohio State fans? I heard that he's actually injured. Is Garrett playing? But yeah, Ohio State's defensive line is nasty. A lot of experience, a lot of speed, um, and they play with such an aggression, a ruthless type of aggression. Alabama, though, that offensive line, man, they've gone against tough challenges. They went up against some very very tough challenges. Again, Georgia's defensive line is really really good. They have a lot of depth. Alabama passed that challenge. They went up against who else? They went up against Tennessee's defensive line is really good. Alabama passed that challenge. Alabama's went up against some pretty good defensive fronts. A&M's defensive line, led with Bobby Brown and those guys. A&M arguably has a top five defensive front, and Bama passed that challenge and put up 52 points. Now, again, the common theme is that Landon Dickerson played, and Chris Owens is the backup, but Landon Dickerson is miles ahead of Chris Owens, and maybe who knows, maybe guys like TT and Garrett, maybe those guys um can expose Chris Owens as a center. But man, talking just looking at Alabama's offensive line going against that elite front, that's gonna be a very fun matchup to look at. As far as the better quarterback, Santiago, going into this game, or like the NFL. Because if this is college, no, it's like I love Mac. I'll even say for both, like the NFL or college. Like I love Mac Jones. He's not better than Justin Fields. I love Mac Jones, but he's not better than Justin Fields. I think if you ask any other Bama fan, who would you take, Mac Jones or Justin Fields? We're taking Justin Fields. I'm taking Justin Fields. Damn it! You asked me who in the hell I'd rather take. I'm taking Justin Fields. Justin Fields is better than Mac Jones. Yeah, this game, yeah, Justin Fields is better than Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones is phenomenal. He's great. He's great. He's great himself. I was one of the first people, and I got a video on that going back to last year for anyone who's curious about it. I said Mac Jones was going to be a star for Alabama after the Auburn game. It's like a lot of people don't is not believing in Mac Jones. I became a believer of Mac Jones, and I said he was going to be a star, but he's not better than Justin Fields. Justin Lawrence. Steve Sarkisian, man. Steve Sarkisian's the best play caller in college football. Steve Sarkisian's the best play caller in college football. Now Ryan Day and his offense, I mean, they call some great games, and obviously they had a great game plan against Clemson. But Steve Sarkisian's the best play caller in all of college football. It's not even close. Steve Sarkisian is a animal as far as when it comes to play design, as far as when it comes to just preparing for a defense, the just the schematics. He is the best, probably the best coach in college football when it comes to doing that right now. That's why I'm very interested by the time he goes to the NFL. Because by the time he goes to the NFL, he's probably still going to be the primary play caller for Texas, or again, he's going to have his own offensive coordinator, but primarily Steve Sarkisian is going to be the guy. But it's handling all those responsibilities again, and it led him to kind of be a drunk. I don't mean to be an ass, but it kind of made him to go down a road that, of course, obviously he's recovered from. So, after when the game is over and Steve Sarkisian is going to be the head coach at Texas, all those responsibilities, all that stuff is going to be back on his shoulders again, and hopefully he can handle it. How about Olave and Wilson? Both those guys are dynamic players, man. They're very, very dynamic players. Chris Olave, in my opinion, is one of the best receivers in college football. I would love to see Chris Olave go against Patrick. As a matter of fact, I know we're going to see that. Eventually, we are going to get a matchup of that happening. Um, Garrett Wilson, I think he's another one of those players that's very underrated, in my opinion. Former five-star player, crap ton of talent. Um, I'm excited to see though. I'm very, very excited to see what both those guys are going to be bringing to the table during the national championship game. But I'm excited to see those players. No one can. No one can, Jermaine. Jermaine. No one can. No one can stop Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith. It's really the pass rush getting to Mac Jones. Like, can they affect Mac Jones to kind of disrupt him? We haven't seen it really all year of any pass rush really affecting Mac Jones. It's like I don't think anyone can stop Waddle and stop Devonta Smith, and it's not because they're like gods. It's because Steve Sarkisian is just that damn good of a play caller. The question is that again, if you can disrupt Mac Jones and throw his timing off, you know, that's when you can stop Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle from doing what they can. But that's if Jalen Waddle plays. I think we also have to take that into consideration. Yeah, Crimson man. 200 Fields. That's a pretty interesting comparison. I think Justin, Tua Tagovailoa, he's a prototypical pocket passer with a little bit of mobility, very very accurate, pretty good arm. Um, Justin Fields is he's a very dynamic player, very very dynamic player. Justin Fields actually reminds me of he actually reminds me of Josh Allen. Fields actually reminds me of Josh Allen as far as a big strong guy that can take off and run the football, but has a extremely strong arm, very very accurate, if not more accurate than Josh Allen right now as a deep passer, at least coming out of college. Justin Fields, I think the correct comparison would be Josh Allen, in my opinion. And just his overall size, it's very just his overall size. Like Justin Fields, like they say he's 230 pounds. That's a damn lie. Justin Fields might be 245, maybe 250 plus. Justin Fields is a big boy. So yeah, I would say a pretty good comparison is Josh Allen. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The last couple of streams, man, a lot of you Ohio State fans, man, have been just absolutely just been super supportive of the stream, and I appreciate you guys for definitely stopping by the stream. I know a lot of you guys are new here. But if you guys like what you're seeing, if you guys like the content so far, definitely hit that subscribe button, man. And again, Alabama versus Ohio State national championship game. We will be live streaming. We will be having a watch party. So if you guys want to stop by and chat and definitely or definitely discuss whatever you guys want during the game, we can definitely do that. But we will be live streaming at around 6:30, 7 o'clock, just preparation for the watch party, and we'll go all the way to the post game. I never liked the fact that he was a dual threat. I mean, maybe, I mean, in high school he ran the ball a lot, but when he came out, I never thought he was a dual threat. I just thought he was a. I always thought he was a pocket passer. Now again, pocket passers nowadays, it's people back in the day it used to be if you got that label, you were slow as hell. You had no mobility. You were just a stationary target. Pocket passers can move. Like Josh Allen, like people like Josh Allen is actually classified as a pocket passer, but we all know Josh Allen can move. That dude has 4.7 speed. Um, I think we use the word dual threat. I think we kind of use that word a little bit too much, a little bit more often. I mean, to be honest with you, I've never really liked those type of terms of a mobile guy or as a dual threat or as a pro or as a pocket passer or as a pro pocket. I never really liked those slangs. I just these are quarterbacks at the end of the day. They have different skill sets. They have every quarterback is different. But Tua coming out of high school, I just thought he was just an average quarterback with just really really good accuracy, great footwork and of course a crap ton of promise. Um, but yeah, I never thought he was a dual threat. He could run, but there's a lot of pocket passers now that can kind of run. I mean, look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was never classified as a dual threat. The dude has 4.6 speed. Daniel Jones 4.5 speed. Now, of course, Daniel Jones is tripping on himself, but Daniel Jones has 4.5 speed. You can see, but he was labeled as a pocket passer. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in a way. I mean, quarterbacks nowadays they're super athletic with all these quarterback camps and just kids are getting faster, they're getting stronger, they're more athletic than ever. Uh, you know, kids can run. Kids playing the quarterback position can run, man. Unless you're Ben Roethlisberger. If you're Ben Roethlisberger size, you're not running. You are your ass is standing in that damn pocket. But of course, no one wants to be like a Big Ben now. Yeah, Fields is a big boy. Like they got him labeled at what 230 something pounds. No, he's 250. That dude's 250. Fields is a big boy. He's a big boy, man. Ooh. Yeah, and this is why I think let me go back to that comment. Like this is why when everyone just says that Trevor Lawrence is the clear lock, I just ask anybody, what separates Trevor Lawrence from Justin Fields? Because when you really actually take a look at the two, they're super similar as far as their skill sets. And I just don't understand why people choose Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields. I think the main reason why is because Trevor Lawrence is 6'6". He's 6'6". He's 230 pounds. He can run probably like a 4.6. He's mobile. But Justin Fields can do the exact same thing. Justin Fields is 6'3", 230 or 240 pounds, or no, or I think he's 250. But Justin Fields, 6'3", 230 something pounds. He's a big quarterback, great arm, great footwork inside the pocket. Obviously can scramble. Can make those tight throws. He struggled against zone coverage a little bit, but against the Clemson's primarily a team that plays zone coverage. Justin Fields played the best game of his career with damn near a broken rib. So I look at a guy like and Trevor Lawrence, he struggled. Trevor Lawrence is at fault primarily when teams get a lot of pressure on him. He's struggled. We've seen teams put a lot of pressure on Justin Fields, and we've seen him at least for this year get better. So I don't really see the difference between those two guys. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really see the the things that kind of separates that makes Trevor Lawrence just this immediate number one overall pick in the NFL draft. I think it's a debate. I think after that game, I think it's a debate for who gets the number one overall pick. I don't think you can go wrong. I think they're both guys, but the fact that Justin Fields played through a broken rib and a hurt hip, and again, we don't even know the stink, but I think it's worse than what these coaches are kind of leading on to. I Justin Fields has that mindset that he's gonna take like whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way to try to pull through and get a win for his team, and not just play at a mediocre level. We've seen that he's played hurt through at a very high level. So again, I like Trevor Lawrence, but what's the big difference that separates Trevor Lawrence from the rest of the pack? Honestly. You know what, Johnny? Here's the thing: Tua didn't beat out Jalen, but everyone knew that Tua was better. Just from seeing Tua Tagovailoa on the football field, everyone knew that Tua was better. Matter of fact, Tua outplayed Jalen Hurts in the spring game, and Jalen Hurts was named the starter. Think about this for a second. JT Daniels was the backup for Stetson Bennett. JT Daniels was the backup for Stetson Bennett. You tell me who's better, JT Daniels or Stetson Bennett? Kirby Smart doesn't know what the hell he's doing with quarterbacks. Georgia fans will be the first one to tell you that. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing with quarterbacks. Like, I watched the spring game. Justin Fields played equally as good as Jake Fromm. The reason why he did not beat out Jake Fromm was because Jake Fromm took that team to the national championship. That's the only reason why Justin Fields wasn't named the starter. And whenever Justin Fields actually had his opportunity to play, he played really well. It's like Kirby Smart doesn't know what the hell he's doing with quarterbacks. Doesn't know what the hell he's doing at all with quarterbacks. Oh, if Ohio State had Chase Young, I don't even want to imagine that. If Ohio State had Chase Young, then yeah, Ohio State's definitely winning the game. Chase Young was a monster. He was a monster against. That actually would have been a good matchup, though. Honestly, was Chase Young going against either Alex Leatherwood or Evan Neal? That would have been a great matchup. Because Leatherwood's definitely going in the first round, but Neal's another first round pick too. He's another guy that next year is going to the NFL too. So that would have been very fun, honestly, seeing two guys, two first rounders going against each other. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's yeah, for sure. I mean, Justin Fields just had a little bit. He had a rougher start to the season. Justin Fields had a rougher start to the season, but I think a huge reason why he had such a rough start was because you had limited training. You had no spring ball, limited training camp. Again, a lot more offensive plays was added to the playbook for Ohio State this year, so you had to work with a bunch of new plays, and you had to work with some You had to work with new receivers. Um, Limited season, COVID. I mean, Ohio State went through they went through a lot, man. And the fact that they had a bunch of canceled games on their schedule, so they really couldn't establish that rhythm and establish that chemistry. Of course Justin Fields was going to go off to was going to go off to a little bit of a slow start. But but if Ohio State would have had a little bit more time, and if they probably would have played three more games and actually go against them. I mean, here's another thing: the top quality competition. Who was their top quality competition? I mean, people will say, Northwestern. Northwestern's a good football team, but let's be honest here. Northwestern's not that good of a team. They're not that good of a team. And then Indiana lost. We see how Indiana, we see how good they are. They lost to a 4-win Ole Miss team, so really how good was the competition that Ohio State really played. And so I think there's a bunch of factors to why Justin Fields kind of had a very, very slow start. But, you know, 2020, like I said, was definitely a weird year. Yeah, Jay Dahl and Trevor. Look at the national championship for last year against LSU. Trevor Lawrence played arguably the worst game of his career last year against LSU. And then you have to look at the previous games like he did in the regular season. Look at the game he had against Boston College. It's like Trevor Lawrence. Like I hate how people I hate when they do this for quarterbacks. How they got this hype for like 3 or 4 years, and they make them look like gods. I hate when they do that. It's like Trevor Lawrence is he's a phenomenal prospect. Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But when you're trying to say that there's this big gap between Lawrence and then Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, what's so big? What's the gap? How is it that huge? Because I look at the tape and I look at and Trevor Lawrence has some extremely bad tendencies. He struggles against he struggles against zone coverage primarily when teams when teams can pressure him. Whenever teams can find a way to pressure him, he crumbles. He crumbles under the pressure. We've seen Justin Fields when he's been pressured a lot. We've seen Justin Fields rise above that pressure. We've seen Zach Wilson a little bit rise above that pressure. We've seen Mac Jones do it all year. Mac Jones did it against Auburn. Now, of course, he threw 2 pick sixes, but Mac Jones had a 65% complete percentage, threw for over 300 yards, and was 3 points away from beating an Auburn team that had one of the best defenses in the country. We've seen Mac Jones under pressure, literally under pressure, perform at the highest level. So what's this huge gap between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm not dogging Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying, like, I hate when people just claim that, hey, Jacksonville is automatically going to get Trevor Lawrence. That still can probably happen, and most likely is going to happen. But compared to what I've seen during that Clemson Ohio State game, I'm actually a little bit more sold that Justin Fields is going to be better than Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, during the NFL. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, they did, J. Dog, but you got to think about it, is that Clemson at that point they had film on Notre Dame. They have experience against Notre Dame. They played them, so they were able to kind of fix the mistake. They were able to fix their mistakes. Bama, of course, everyone has tape, but Bama didn't play Notre Dame the first game of the regular season. I think we also got to take into account as well that the score really should have been 31-7. Notre Dame scored in garbage time. Notre Dame scored in garbage time, and Alabama, you can just tell in the second half that they were trying to run off the clock. They kind of pulled what they did against Oklahoma. They tried to run off the clock, and the score really should have been 31-7. But I do agree that Clemson was more dominant against Notre Dame. But Clemson also, we also got to take into account as well that that Clemson already played Notre Dame before, so they had more experience, and they really got to work on what were the biggest mistakes the first time they played Notre Dame. Exactly, and that's it's Santiago, that's a huge trait. That's a huge trait that would make scouts kind of fall in love with the quarterback. And again, you're going to need that. That I think Justin Fields has. They both got the intangibles. I think they both got the heart and they got the pedigree. But they're both extremely talented. I think really the biggest difference is that Trevor Lawrence is 6'6" and Justin Fields is 6'3". Honestly, I think that's one of the bigger differences. And because they both got the arm strength, they got the mobility, they got the size, they got the experience, they got the accuracy. They both got strong arms. They got great footwork in the pocket, and they've got great offensive coordinators and great coaches to kind of coach them up to get them to this level. Like, I don't see the difference between Trevor Lawrence. I don't see that difference that just makes Trevor Lawrence this automatic number one overall pick over Trevor Lawrence. You know what? And the reason why they did it is because Trevor Lawrence, what he did his freshman year. Justin Fields was the second string behind Jake Fromm, and Trevor Lawrence was the starter. I think that's literally the reason why Trevor Lawrence right now is this automatic #1 overall pick. Like if Trevor Lawrence was having a Joe Burrow type of season, then I can understand what Joe Burrow did. 60 touchdowns and almost 6,000 passing yards and everything he did during that year. Joe Burrow was going to be the #1 overall pick, and there was no disputing it. There was no argument. This year alone, you have two phenomenal prospects that could end up being the best quarterbacks. Can end up being the two best quarterbacks in the league. I just don't see that major difference though between those two, as far as who deserves to be the #1. Besides who deserves to be the #1 overall pick. Lawrence has a higher floor while Fields has a higher ceiling. Yeah, I can say. Oh, okay. I think Atlanta. I think Atlanta would be a great fit for Justin Fields, especially when you have a mentor. Especially when you have a mentor like Matt Ryan there. I think that would be great for him. I think Carolina. I think the Panthers with Joe Brady would be great. Um, who else? If the Jets can get a proper cultural foundation, then maybe that can be a good spot. It's really anywhere where the foundation is set. If the if they have if the cultural foundation is set, not just from the coaching position, but from a front office standpoint as well, because the front office matters, then I think that Justin Fields can succeed. But I think the Falcons have the pieces. They just need that cultural foundation. They need that coach. They need the GM. They need a little bit more, but I think the Atlanta Falcons would be a perfect fit. Have Matt Ryan as a mentor. And then, of course, Detroit has Matthew Stafford as well. And of course, Detroit, I feel so bad for Matthew Stafford, but I think that, of course, Matthew Stafford is probably like a year or two away before leaving that organization. All right, Crimson Brave has Alabama winning 45-38. So, I mean, like I said, a lot of Bama fans do believe that this is going to be a close game, and not just be a close game. This is going to be a high scoring game. See some trash talk in the comment section. Listen, you're gonna get that. You're definitely gonna get that trash talk. One of the things, guys, that I'm actually really looking forward to is the tight end position. The fact that Ohio State actually utilized their tight ends for the first time this year, and the fact that they kind of proven that they were a deadly force, I am very interested to see that, because one of Alabama's weaknesses is going against tight ends. Now, of course, they're not going against Kenny Yeboah. They're not going against Kyle Pitts, these crazy athletic tight ends with a crap ton of upside. But Ohio State's guys, like with Ruckert, and I forgot who the other guy is, they got some pretty good two tight ends. Not only are really good run blockers, but we also saw them as red zone threats, or even as guys that that can be just a huge mismatch. Bama has struggled against the tight ends with, even with Malachi Moore, as good as a playmaker he's been, he struggled against guys in the slot. Brian Branch, Jordan Battle, Daniel Wright, and of course, with Christian Harris and Dylan Moses handling with those guys. So I wouldn't. So as much as we're talking about Chris Olave and we're talking about Garrett Wilson and all those receivers, we got to talk about these tight ends, because we could have another situation where Ohio State utilizes these tight ends and they can play a major factor, if Ohio State wins this football game. Santiago has Alabama. Santiago has Alabama winning the game 52-48, and he's an Ohio State fan as well. Love that unbiased opinion. Yeah, roll. It's Justin Fields with that injury. That's the spot. Is that he is not? We all know he's not going to be 100%. Justin Fields is not going to be 100%. So you know what is Alabama like? What are they going to do? Are they going to try to bring the heat on him because they know that Justin Fields is not going to have that same type of mobility like he did last week before the injury? Are they going to play a little bit safer coverage or give these guys more cushion? What are they going to do? Are they going to rush four? Are they going to rush five or six guys? I'm very interested to see what Pete Golding do. And you know what? This is going to define Pete Golding's legacy at Alabama. I think that's another guy that I haven't really talked about is Pete Golding. This game is going to define Pete Golding's legacy because and Bama fans that are in the chat, they will tell you Pete Golding has been on thin ice with us. He's had, of course, he's had some games. We're like, okay, yeah, Pete Golding, your job is safe. But what he did against Ole Miss, the Florida game, what he did last year, Bama fans are not going to forget about that. And if Pete Golding can shut down this Ohio State offense and or he can do a good enough job for this defense to win the game, then Bama fans are going to feel safe with him. And Bama fans are going to be like, hey, you know what? Pete Golding's learning. He's going to develop. But if Ohio State puts up a lot of points and we can't stop them and we're not making enough adjustments or we are making some of the adjustments, but they're not the correct adjustments. And we simply just have no plan answer to what this Alabama defense is going to be doing to Ohio State, that he's gone. Bama fans will have enough. I think Nick Saban will have enough, and I think he's gone. And Nick Saban, he's trying to pull a Kirby Smart by getting a young defensive coordinator, molding him, and then eventually having that guy stay. And then whenever it's his time to be a head coach, that's when he'll go. But if he has a bad game against Ohio State, Bama fans will have enough. I would definitely probably have enough, and I think he's gone. So this game is going to define Pete Golding's legacy. Pete Golding's going to have a lot of pressure on his hands. We are like the Wolverines just ducking. Okay, yeah. Tony's talking about Christine Saban. I'm actually going to pull that up one more time for anyone who hasn't seen what she said. And obviously, this is something that Ohio State fans, they're probably like, yes, 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 yes. Finally, we can have some fuel to the fire. Finally, yeah, add more. We want to see more toxic tweets. Just give Ohio State more motivation so that we can use that against you, potentially whip your ass. So let me just share what she said. Ooh, hold on real quick. There we go. So yeah, this is what she said, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the tweet right here that of course is getting everybody uh kind of riled up and kind of going after Christine Saban. So she said if you're not confident to play, then say it. I call BS on the COVID cases. They're just worried about their quarterback and want him to have more time to heal. If he's hurt, put in your backup. You didn't see us postpone the rest of the season to wait for Waddle. Now, of course, Cardale Jones, he came out there and Cardale Jones, of course, he came out there and just said, bro, trust me, you don't want another backup. You don't want another backup to come in. Remember the last backup that came against you guys. Now, of course, Bama fans got their back. Ohio State fans obviously had Cardale Jones back, and it was pretty much a Twitter war, and it was actually trending for a little while. But You know that obviously we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out if Ohio State's gonna play with a little bit more of an edge now because of that, right? What was that tweet? Was that the perfect tweet to kind of give Ohio State an excuse to say, you know what, you guys want to pull another Clemson? We're gonna go after that ass, or is Alabama? Uh, is Alabama going to play with a little bit more of a fiery edge? That's obviously something that we're going to see. I think that this is not going to affect Alabama in a way. I think that Nick Saban's going to kind of shrug this off a little bit, or maybe he probably call Christine like, hey, yo, Christine, kind of calm it down a little bit. But obviously, we're going to find out on Monday. But yeah, she definitely added some fuel to the fire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He probably took the belt off against to get a Christine. Listen, man, Christine's a grown ass woman, but hey, Nick Saban, man, he got some strength. Nick Saban he got enough strength to definitely get that belt. Oh yeah, Cardell made the perfect. He had the perfect comeback, and there's nothing she could have said. I don't even think she said anything else. It's nothing you can say for that. Yeah, you sure about putting it in another backup? Look what happened last time, and I'm not gonna lie to you. He actually kind of makes a good point. C.J. Stroud is nothing to be laughed at. Former Elite 11 MVP winner. C.J. Stroud is no laughing matter. Now we haven't seen him play a lot of snaps. However, that dude has enough. He has a lot of potential. CJ Stroud he has a lot of talent and he has that potential. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want another backup quarterback, and I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. I can't tell you how much flack I got from Ohio State fans that kept saying our third string got you. Imagine if JT Barrett or Braxton Miller would have started. The score would have been like 60-30, and I'm like, oh, I had to deal with that for an entire year. The Michigan Wolverines. Will Jim Harbaugh be fired, or will he stay another year? That's one thing I want to know. Will Jim Harbaugh be fired, or will he stay another year? Because Jim Harbaugh, man, he has. I can't even say he's underachieved. Because before he was there, Michigan had that one good year with Rodriguez in 2011, but then after that, they were crap. And then even before Rodriguez was there, they were kind of mediocre. And then as soon as Jim Harbaugh got there, at least they became a relevant program. But for the most part, they've become a Wisconsin, Northwestern, Notre Dame type of program. And obviously, Michigan fans want more. They expect more. Yeah, Devonta Smith did not give a damn about the Heisman ceremony. Like, did you guys notice that? Like, when Devonta Smith was being asked all these questions and stuff like that, Devonta Smith just looked like he didn't want to be there. He looked like he just like, bro, can I just go home or can I just go to the gym or some shit? Like, I don't want to be here. Even his speech, like normally these Heisman speeches, like people are excited, they're like overly excited or they're emotional and they're crying. Like Devontae Smith, like I just want to thank my family, just want to thank my friends, thank my community, just thank the Heisman fraternity for just accepting. Like he just sounded so damn dull, and he just sounded like he didn't even want to be there. But I mean, Devontae, that's him, man. He's a quiet dude. He's all about business. They offered him an extension. Why? I mean, just going back to my point again. Michigan has been a pretty good program. They haven't been a great program, but they've been a pretty good program. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he decides to try to give it one more go and tries to go to the NFL. I think again, the NFL it's way less responsibility than dealing with college. Exactly, man. He came back. He came back to win a national championship. You can tell last year he had a sour taste in his mouth. Another reason why Devonta Smith came back was because people just NFL scouts did not. They don't. They still. NFL scouts weren't convinced that he can play at the playing weight. He's 6'1", he's 175 pounds, but he looks like he's 90 pounds. He looks like he's like 90 pounds and that he hasn't eaten anything in weeks. So obviously Devonta Smith, he came back. He wanted to prove to NFL scouts and to pretty much all his doubters that he can play at a very, very high level. And Jalen Waddle getting hurt actually was a huge benefit for Devonta Smith because with Waddle being hurt and Devonta Smith really becoming the man, he is now going to be a top 10 pick. He's going to be a top 10 overall pick and potentially maybe a top 5 overall pick. So definitely Devonta Smith was all business this year. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me today, man. Thank you guys so much for coming by the stream. I really appreciate it. We had over 100 people in this live stream. We had close to 150 people in the live stream. So, man, thank you guys so much for coming by the stream. I'm going to be having a live stream tomorrow, too. So, exactly around this time, maybe 6 or 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I will be live streaming around then. So, definitely come by, stop by the stream, and we'll talk more about the Alabama-Ohio State, and we'll just have a live Q&A. You guys can talk about anything you guys want, and I will definitely respond back to you guys. So thank you guys so much for coming by the live stream, man. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, that's going to do it for me. So anyway, Jan716, aka Jan Sports, I will check you guys out later, and peace.